Well, joining me in the studio to discuss is our international affairs commentator, Philip Turle. Hi, Philip. So Trump has been talking about how to deal with the wildfires in LA ahead of his visit today to Southern California.
Yes, he has. And I think for many there is a degree of concern about what exactly Donald Trump is planning to do, beginning with what he's called the reform of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. Now, what is that? That is a nationwide agency that intervenes to subsidize efforts by the different states to deal with natural disasters like forest fires, earthquakes, or cyclones, all of those natural disasters that could happen in the United States. It hands out vast amounts of money. Donald Trump doesn't agree with this agency and says that it needs to be overhauled. The actual way he's been criticizing it says that it's getting in the way of everything. Now, this is something that's been outlined in the Project 2025 manifesto, which is that far-right manifesto that put forward a lot of far-right ideas ahead of the election campaign. Donald Trump saying he didn't have anything to do with this, but Project 2025 was compiled by many former Trump aides and close associates with Donald Trump. So what it basically means is that there'll be less nationwide money available. And the crux of the matter is that if that agency is done away with, it's the Republican states that will suffer more than the Democratic states in the United States. Just for an example, since 2015, 31 billion has been handed out by the FEMA to Republican states compared to only 7 billion to Democratic states. And I think that is certainly a lot of concern will be raised as to the possibility of that funding being done away with if California, for example, has to continue dealing with these forest fires. Now, the second point here, as far as California is concerned, is that Donald Trump has been saying that fish conservation in the north of California is affecting water supplies to the south of California. This is something that has been proved as being false, but he's saying that he is absolutely certain that the authorities in Southern California could have put the fires out if they'd had the necessary water supplies, which they didn't have because of fish conservation taking place in the north of the country. The bottom line here, I think, is that what we're seeing is a political fight between the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't like Gavin Newsom. There is no love lost between the two men. Donald Trump has been describing Gavin Newsom as Gavin New Scum. And it remains to be seen whether today Gavin Newsom will turn up at the airport to greet Donald Trump when he arrives in Southern California. Donald Trump said he's got no plans to meet with the governor, who is, I think, perceived as being a potential threat to the Republican Party because he has been pinpointed as being a possible Democratic candidate for president in the next presidential elections in 2028. That's where the wrath of Donald Trump comes from. The forest fires and the problems in California are acting as a backdrop for him to be able to criticize Gavin Newsom and the way that the Democrats have handled the forest fires.
Now, staying with Donald Trump, let's just segue back to the Davos summit because there's a lot to unpack. But the crux of his address was once again basically outlining his America First plans.
Yeah, and what we've just been hearing from Charles Pellegrin in Davos is basically the message. It's blunt, it's clear. If you want to do business with the US, then make your products in the United States and face no taxes, or do it outside the US and face strong taxes, 25% and upwards. Donald Trump basically saying America first. If people produce goods in the US, it will strengthen our economy. If they don't and we impose taxes, that will also strengthen our economy. The problem here is that this is going to lead to what economists are calling a retaliatory war, a trade war basically, where those countries that import US goods will also impose tariffs on them. Who was going to suffer as a result of that? Well, it's going to be consumers in the United States who will find goods more expensive. I'll just give you an example about what France exports. France is the fourth largest EU exporter to the US after Italy, Germany and Belgium, exporting 45 billion euros worth of goods to the US annually, including aeronautical parts, prescription drugs and wine, champagne and cognac. That if there are tariffs on that of 25%, all of those prices are going to go up. That will make it more expensive for people in the United States to get hold of those goods and increase inflation. So a lot of questions being asked about well, is this just hot air from Donald Trump? How serious is he in imposing these tariffs? What will the fallout be if he does? A wait and see situation here in Europe, and I think not only in Europe, in Canada, in Mexico, in other countries as well, to see what Donald Trump is going to do, but warnings that it could lead to a trade war around the world, and in particular with China.
Now, he also doubled down on ending the war in Ukraine, didn't he? He said he wants OPEC and Saudi Arabia to bring down the price of oil, which he says is fueling the war.
Well, there's no clear plan in Ukraine. What Donald Trump has been saying, remember, right before he was even elected, was saying, I'll get this solved in 24 hours. That was then increased to 6 months. But we still don't have a credible plan about how Donald Trump is going to do that. He says, I want to meet Vladimir Putin. The Ukrainians want a ceasefire, but we don't know whether Donald Trump is going to favour Ukraine in this or Russia in this, and what the plan is going to be, what he's going to do to pacify both sides to agree to some kind of way forward to end the conflict. What Donald Trump is saying is basically to stop the fighting. Thousands of people are being killed. He's right about that. But we don't have a concrete plan put forward by the US leader, apart from, well, if we bring down the price of oil, that will end the war immediately. Ukraine has said, yes, we'd like that. But what's the plan going to be there apart from putting pressure on the shoulders of Saudi Arabia? So we don't know, but I think definitely Donald Trump wants to do something. How easy it's going to be, that is anybody's guess right now.
All right, Philip, thank you very much indeed for your analysis as always.